When the divorce papers came through, I didn't even sign them right away. I just stared at her name, Marilyn Foster, written in that elegant curve she used when she wanted to seem innocent. By the time I put the pen down, I had lost everything. The house, the cars, the savings, and worst of all, my little girl, Tessa. She cried the morning I left. Clutching her stuffed bear, she whispered, "Daddy, don't go." Marilyn stood behind her, arms crossed, a smirk she didn't bother to hide. "You'll never recover from this," she texted me that night. I believed her for a while. I spent months living in a one-room apartment with walls thin enough to hear my neighbors snore. I ate instant noodles, counted coins for gas, and watched other men pick up their kids at school while I waited for my once-a-month visitation rights. Marilyn had moved on quickly, too quickly. New boyfriend, new SUV, new house built with my money. She even changed Tessa's last name on Facebook before the papers were final. The lawyer said I was finished. She played her cards well, he told me. He didn't know how right he was. It started the day I went to close my childhood savings account. It was a dusty relic my parents had opened in 1980 with $200. I figured, what's the point of keeping it? I needed every cent I could find. The teller, a young woman with a tidy bun and glasses, typed in my name. Then she froze. "Sir, this account's been growing since 1980. She turned the screen toward me. At first, I thought it was a mistake. Then I saw the number. 8 digits. The air left my lungs. My knees almost gave out. She explained it mechanically. Interest rates, reinvestments, dividends. Apparently, my late father had tied it to a trust fund I never knew existed. I wasn't broke anymore, not even close. And that was the moment everything shifted. The pain, the humiliation, the sleepless nights, suddenly they weren't weights anymore. They were weapons. I didn't rush into anything. Revenge, when done right, is patience disguised as calm. I started small. I paid off every bill she thought she'd ruined me with. I rebuilt my credit, my business, and my name. Quietly, under the radar. Then I started to study her. Social media was her vanity mirror. Vacations in Bali, shopping trips in Paris, dinners at rooftop bars, all tagged, all public. She wanted to be seen. Her new boyfriend, Tom, was a financial advisor, a reckless one. I began feeding him opportunities through fake corporate accounts, investments too good to resist, offshore bonds, real estate ventures, each one traceable to a shell company I created. And Marilyn? She co-signed every deal. A year later, their accounts were audited. Everything tied back to mutual investments under her name. She called me in tears. "They froze my accounts. I can't even pay rent." Rent. Funny word for the woman who once threw me out of my own home. I listened quietly, pretended to be sympathetic. Then I said, "You'll recover from this." I did, and I hung up. But that wasn't the revenge. That was just the cleanup. The real blow came next. I used a portion of my inheritance to buy out the mortgage on the house she'd fought so hard to keep. She never checked who the buyer was when the property went into financial distress. 2 weeks later, a notice arrived. New owner, transfer of title. When she came home to find me on her doorstep, with the deed in my hand, she looked at me like she'd seen a ghost. "This can't be legal," she whispered. "Oh, it's perfectly legal," I said. "You should ask your boyfriend about contracts. He's good at signing things without reading them." Her face drained of color. For the first time, she looked small. I didn't gloat, I didn't shout. I just walked through the house. The living room she redesigned, the kitchen she'd posted online, the bedroom she once banned me from, and I let the silence speak for me. Before I left, I looked at her and said, "Tessa deserves better than this." Now, a year later, I sit across from my daughter in a small cafe near her school. She's older, sharper, not as quick to cry. She asks, "Daddy, are we okay now?" I smile. Tessa will never struggle again. She doesn't know the full story. She doesn't need to. She just knows her father came back from nothing. Marilyn, on the other hand, disappeared from social media. Her new car was repossessed. Tom left her when the investigation started. Last I heard, she was renting an apartment smaller than mine ever was. Sometimes justice doesn't come with police sirens or courtroom victories. Sometimes it's quiet. A bank screen, a signed deed, a soft smile across a cafe table. I didn't destroy her life. I just handed it back to her exactly as she handed mine to me. Empty. And that, I suppose, is what recovery really looks like.